Don Munson joins us here on Big Board Sports ESPN Radio in Albany. Good morning, Don.
Morning, guys. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good?
Congratulations, my man.
Thank you, brother. I mean, it's this is what you get into the business for, is to be able to do something like this. I've always told people that I've got the best job on campus. Well, it resounded even more so last night.
Did you celebrate a little bit?
Just a little bit. Got about 3 hours of sleep, whereas was up and celebrating with the team at about 4 o'clock. And believe me, I wasn't even close to being the last one in that place. I don't know what time it actually shut down this morning, but something tells me that the party and the celebration went long into the day, and it's still going on right now as we both board up the buses and about to head off to the airport.
Well, I got to tell you, Don, when it was 14-0 where I was watching the game, I was wondering, what's going to happen here if Clemson doesn't get a score before half and any more points are put up on the board by this Alabama team with a 14-0 lead, and maybe it's going to be a long night. But you answered with the Watson touchdown run and then 14-7 at the half, and I said, okay, we've got ourselves a ball game here in the second half.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I even said it on air at halftime that Clemson kind of survived the first 30 minutes. To be honest with you, because I think we all thought that it could have been worse than 14-7. But, that's going to be the resiliency of Clemson. That's the first time that they had trailed by 14 points, I believe, since 2014. So they knew this is kind of who this team is. A little bit of heart, a little bit of grit, dug deep, found a way to win it in the end.
Let me ask you, when Alabama scores to take the lead, was it a little over 2 minutes to go, obviously too much time for Deshaun Watson. What were you thinking? Alabama scores. Were you thinking, oh boy, here we go again? Or in your mind, as you get set to call the play-by-play here down the stretch, did you really think that Watson get in that huddle and come up with the big drive that he did?
No, I think, again, just for knowing the fan base that I represented, I said this. I said, as he goes out there to take the snap and start this drive, there's nobody in college football that you would rather have directing the attack right now than Deshaun Watson. And so, there was 2:01 left in the clock. He used 2 minutes of it. Left 1 second up there, but he used 2 minutes of it to finally finding Renfro in the end zone for the winner. But that's, so he now goes down, I think, in just the annals. I mean, he becomes an instant legend, much like the guy that he kind of grew up idolizing in Vince Young. Now so is Deshaun Watson.
Hey, Don, yesterday when we were talking, I said, hey, it feels like tonight Deshaun Watson's going to have to turn in a historic performance. I'm not sure if you remember that question.
Yeah.
And you were kind of like, well, he needs to play well. I don't know about historic. Well, it turned out to be extremely historic. You've been involved with Clemson football for a long time. Where does last night's performance stack up in the annals of the history of the Clemson football program?
Oh, I think that people are going to elevate that to one. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But when you look at what he's done and what he's done now twice to the quote unquote best defense in college football history. I mean, that's what people were calling Alabama. And so twice he leads his team to over 500 yards of total offense. He himself, is responsible for well over 400 of that, both passing and running. And you take, to win the national championship down by 3 with 2:01 to go and drive your team 68 yards. Oh, by the way, you had to convert a couple of huge third down plays in the game. You got 6 seconds left in the contest on the 2-yard line when you absolutely have to have it. And by the way, that throw to Renfro, if you watch it, it's perfect. I mean, it's just, you can see, if you watch the replay, all the mechanics, you can just see that everything, the confidence even in Deshaun's eyes when he lets that thing go is just right there. And so that's the best. He's the best right now in Clemson football history. No doubt.
And now off to the NFL. He's going to go and see what happens at quarterback next year. But how about the on that final play? I mean, did you predict that would be the call?
No, I didn't. But our sideline reporter called it into Renfro's hands. So I give Michael Palmer a lot of credit, former tight end here at Clemson. He played several years in the National Football League, so I give him a lot of credit. I thought that they were going to go left side and try to throw it to Williams with a jump ball situation over there to Mike. But and give Jeff Scott credit. Jeff Scott, the wide receiver coach and co-offensive coordinator here with Tony Elliott, he was the one that actually made the play call. That as they were discussing it on the sideline, he said, "Oh, let's run this," and it worked to perfection. I mean, just absolute little rub route over there, and Renfro was wide open.
Yeah,
I mean, he was wide open.
Wide open, and that's a great story, right, Don? I mean, Renfro, a walk-on.
Yeah, from the state of South Carolina, from Myrtle Beach, a coach's son. He wants to go into coaching. Something tells me, though, I think he's got another career path that is ahead of him. The way that he's playing right now, and he's becoming that. There's a history to the number 13 at Clemson, which you all probably aren't familiar with, but that number 13 has usually gone to a let's call it Caucasian wide receiver that runs great routes, that has great hands, and that here in days gone by has actually gone on and played in the National Football League. Adam Humphries, who plays for Tampa Bay, was 13 before Renfro was 13. So he handed off the number, and it seems like whoever wears that 13, the player that goes into that jersey, actually is a little bit better than the last guy that was there. And so, the great thing about Hunter, he's got 2 more years to be around Clemson.
Yes, that's phenomenal. Hey, we're talking Clemson football here. Don Munson, the voice of the Clemson Tigers, on Big Board Sports the morning after they win their second national title, first in 35 years, 35-31 over the Alabama Crimson Tide. Finally, somebody beats Alabama. I was hoping they would go down last night, to be honest with you. A little tired of the whole Saban Alabama. How many offensive plays did Clemson run, Don?
99.
Yeah.
The most ever against Alabama. 49 in the first half and 50 in the second half.
They were exhausted. That Alabama defense in that fourth quarter, you could see right down that they were just gassed.
Well, that's part of the philosophy of Clemson. They come in they want to run at least 80 plays in a game, and that's part of the formula, is that they feel like that they can wear out defenses. And Alabama's defense, I'm going to say this, and Alabama's defense is not as deep as Clemson's defense. They can't go in the rotation, particularly on the defensive front line, like Clemson can. Clemson is a deeper football team there, and I think it did take its wear and tear on that defensive front four in particular, and that that probably is a little bit of the cause. When Alabama had to make a play, they couldn't make a play, and so you give credit to Clemson, but then you also have to know what's going on the defensive side of the ball.
And I thought Clemson defensively did a really good job. I mean, Alabama got their points, but and in all fairness, Bo Scarborough going out was a major loss for the Tide.
Sure.
But
you got to find that person to step up. It's always with Clemson's philosophy is, okay, who's the next man up? And Alabama didn't have an answer. Scarborough, he's a load. He's a beast.
Yeah, he is. And what did Clemson do? How many punts did Clemson force on Alabama? 11? Was that the number?
I believe that was the number, but goodness gracious, J.K. Scott. Now, he had one shank that gave the ball to Clemson at the Alabama 42.
Yep.
That I believe we got turned into points by Clemson. And then he had another punt in the second half, I think, that also was under 30 yards. But other than that, he was booming the ball. But teased all the little punter for Clemson, kind of, in his funky little way, kind of hung in there. He kept hitting punts, for 39, 40, 38 with no returns, and it turned out to work really, really well as far as field position was concerned.
Don, you mentioned a couple minutes ago that, last night's game, this is why you get into the business, right? And to have that call in the national championship. For you personally, what was that call like?
Well, I've told this story a lot of times. I'm 54, all right? So I got this job when I was 51. And let's be really honest with you. You guys know this. This is a young man's game. In our business, it's a young guy's deal. It's mostly 20 and 30 somethings that are coming into the business and working their way up the ladder. And to be blessed, to be moved. I was actually working for Dabo Sweeney. I was working as part of his support staff from 2010 to 2014. A new athletic director comes in, Dan Radakovich. There's some discussion, and they moved me over to the play-by-play role. So to think what I have gotten to do in the last 3 years as the play-by-play voice Clemson. Now, I've been associated with Clemson radio since '94, but to be the play-by-play voice now for Clemson football for the last 3 years, it's incredible, and it's something that I don't take lightly. I'm a man of faith. I was going to be right up front with that. You know, believe me, there are times that I have gone to my knees praying to God that, hey, what have you got in store for me? What's your answer? Well, this time, as I like to say, Don prayed and God said yes. And he's given me an opportunity to be able to do this, and I absolutely cherish the moment.
I'm sure you do.
It's going to live with me the rest of my life.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's awesome. And maybe you reload and get back there again next year. Got to find a quarterback, right? Somebody's got to replace Watson.
One of the things that Sweeney said in the locker room was, why not repeat? So he's already thinking about it, brothers. He's already, and why not? Why not us? Why can't we repeat? Well, we're going to find out. Believe me, that'll be the goal.
That'll be the goal. And I heard him say he's going to meet with his team on Thursday. That's how quickly you get this thing turned around. Don, I appreciate a few minutes, back-to-back days. Don Munson, the voice of the Clemson Tigers here on Big Board Sports. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Go Tigers.